Got a couple of my rain trees here. Worked them and wired them up about 3 months ago. And as you can probably tell, they've done plenty of growing since then. I'm going to go ahead and get the wire off, get them pruned up, and work on getting some more wire on there. There's lots of these shoots. Been trying to bend them into some keeping shape. And so I'm going to try to keep as many of the shoots as I can. Of course, a bunch of them are kind of growing a little awkwardly. I think this one got a little wildlife damage here. But the first thing we'll do is get this wire off. Alright, so wire's off there. It is pretty funny how just in 3 months, everywhere, I had the wire out to here, and that just grew straight up like that. Probably pick out a couple of these places where I didn't have any wire, like this branch right here. It was there before, but then you can see the whole thing just kind of went straight up there. But I mean, it is what it is. I do think probably going to use this side that I have pointing at you right now as a front. This one has a back branch coming right at you there. I can kind of use it to continue filling things out. It's still a little young. I mean, this is I don't know if I'm going to bring in this mother tree, but I split this one off of the stump of another one. But I also feel like this side of the tree is getting a little heavy here. And this branch, I did have some wire on it, and I kind of did what I wanted to do with it. This branch here, I think either I damaged it or I might have had some issues with cats and birds and stuff out in the yard and everything. But it does come straight up off of this branch, and since I'm using this as a front, I feel like it's kind of distracting there. And so let's start off by taking that guy off. With the rain trees, I don't ever really worry about dieback all that much, but I also don't really make an effort to take the concave cutters and get right on the branch there. I just leave a little room, and it seems to die back, kind of just pleasantly, if you will, for me. I think both of these are kind of coming out a little awkwardly too. I had the wire on out to about here, and so just going to cut off some of the stuff that got a little awkward there. The apex probably goes up out of the picture just a little bit. I'm definitely keeping this as the apex. This one got a little too lignified up. I could wire it down, but again, then that would wind up kind of pointing straight at or over the front, if you will. Come over here and see if I can't do some of this over here. Since this side was getting a little heavy, I am going to try to keep most of this. But I am going to cut it back just a little before I get the wire on there. Wire it out to about right there. Don't really need this guy going straight up like that. Still on what could be the back branch there. This could be a decent branch to keep. Kind of help fill it in the back. Not sure what I'm going to wire it to just right now. But I am going to cut it back a little bit before I do put wire on it. And I'll wire these two together, and I think I'll just go ahead and shorten the apex a little bit. Alright, give you a little bit of a closer look here before I put the wire on it. Alright, just about done with it here. Really only put 3 pieces of wire. The one taking the branches next to the apex down. This one out here, which was the lighter side of the tree, had that one branch going way up there. And then I just kind of, on this back branch here, I just put on just enough to kind of hold it down a little bit. These other ones I did try to get a little extra movement in and everything, but so that would be the back. Alright, and then there's this one. This one is actually a cutting from May of 2020, maybe March of 2020. definitely that year of COVID was one of the cuttings I took. I was keeping these 2 branches. I was going to keep them on as sacrifice branches, and then I just kind of saw that they were still flexible, decided to wire them down. At one point, I was going to go back to clip and grow on it, and just decided the last time that I did any pruning, I got a little more wire out here. This one kind of got away from me a little bit, started kind of going up a little bit too much. And then I put on a little, just on the lowest one of what was becoming the crown. And then just in 3 months, this thing grew more incredibly than any of the other ones I have out there. I don't know why this 3 months was so much different for this tree than the others. But it really did kind of get out of hand here. I would like to consider going back to clip and grow. I may actually even chop this one a little harder than I was planning on and not getting wire on it, but then I keep seeing like this one has a nice branch coming out of a good spot here, and if I don't wire it, I almost definitely have to clip it off. And then same with this one here, some nice little shoots coming out closer to the trunk and everything that I'd like to be able to save. But I guess just like the other one, first thing I do is, alright, the wire is off. I had a little bit of a hard time making up my mind what it is I'm going to do, but I think I've got my mind made up. I think I allowed this one to kind of get a little bit too straight up, and it's too lignified to do much with now. Here's where I had chopped it before, had a longer piece coming out that way. There's a little shoot coming out of the bottom here where this one's going straight up. So I'm going to cut about ½ inch or so above that and hope maybe it continues to shoot out that way, and being that it's coming from the underside there, maybe it won't just in no time go up that quickly. And I still think I want to keep this, but not that long there, so I think I'll cut it off in there somewhere. Get enough wire on there just to hold that one down. If you look at I'm going to go ahead and cut it off, but if you look at the way a rain tree gets a node out that way and a node out that way and a node out that way, try to, if you want, if you would like your tree to start growing that way, you can clip there and allow it to go that way. This one was just a kind of a, not that it was poor pruning or anything, but it just kind of did not go the direction I wanted to, and it went straight back towards the tree there, coming right out of the top of a separation of 2 of them there. And then I think I'd like to keep this one just not quite so long like that. So again, just kind of keeping up with about how long I'm leaving that one. And honestly, that was the easy part. I had a really hard time trying to decide what to do with the apex. Although, I think what I'm going to do is cut it, almost all this branching, a node or 2 above where I cut it the last time. And then just kind of step back and take a look at it. It's the one branch I decided to get a little wire on, just to kind of maybe let it widen out some. Everything just wants to grow straight up. Yeah, it really is such a shame that when I had these guys inside, the leaves kind of go to sleep like that and everything. This would look so much better if they were open. That is part of the what makes the tree look nice, I think, is that it gets that unique bark once it starts to peel a little bit. Just peeled that little bit off from up in here. This thing will look great tomorrow morning when the leaves open up, and then we're actually getting a pretty good cold front in here Monday and Tuesday. Might be sad for a bit after that, but with a lot less foliage, it should be okay too. I don't really remember which side I was trying to use for a front on this one. Wonder if I cut that off, if some of the try to find a node. See, there's a node here where it's coming from under the branch too. Maybe that'll grow a little bit better. I like the way this one's way I got this one flattened out. I didn't do such a good job on that side. But we'll give it a little time. See, there's that side. All right, and then there's this guy here. This is the mother tree, the only one I bought. Everything has come from this one. Very hard to get the entire thing in the picture there. When I bought it, I had intended to grow this branch out as like a sacrifice branch, and let it thicken up. Just I was new in the hobby at the time, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing sacrifice branches. I still do it on a few of my trees, but I was gonna let it run out and just kind of keep the crown pruned. And then I just kind of realized that the sacrifice got a little more interesting than the rest of the trees, so I decided to take the tree off in an air layer. I actually had, this tree probably took more damage than Ian, with the exception of the ones that actually died, just simply because I had it strapped down to a wire rack that I was keeping it on. Actually, I wasn't keeping it on there at the time. I kept it on there just for the hurricane, and the wire rack got completely knocked over. Ceiling fan came out of the eye and like fell on top of it. It's basically been in this pot since then. It's been in this pot basically its almost entire life after the first repot. But I did an emergency repot on it after that disaster there. And just now kind of bringing it in for its little photo shoot here and everything, I kind of realized the training pot's falling apart. Definitely going to have to repot it next spring with the cold snap we've got coming up. I wouldn't want to do it now, so I'm just going to have to be kind of careful with maneuvering around here some. Let's see if I can give you guys another look at the other side before I get started here. And there we are, the other side there. Probably not going to get a much of a better shot than that. All these little suckers here. At one point, I noticed that it's getting such a huge stump here. I was thinking maybe when I repotted, I'd try to split some of those off and make another tree off of it. I think at this point, I'm not going to do that. So, take all these off, basically in the interest of just trying to keep most of the energy going towards the the cascade for now. Let's have some very small kind of sucker growth going down there. Whatever grows, I'll let happen over the winter. And then if I decide to do that when I repot it, I'll worry about that then. Try to save any of those. This is kind of coming out where if I ever decided to give up on the apex, I could kind of make an apex, or I keep saying the apex when I mean cascade. If I ever decided to give up on the cascade, I could keep just that. And I don't want to risk taking the whole thing off just yet. Just kind of shorten it up some there. Same thing with this. Sure, I'll get a bunch of little sprouts in here over the winter. Remember, I do live in Florida, so my winter isn't really that much of a winter. But even at the same time, I think I'm going to go ahead and just shorten these up some. Trying to really avoid doing too much wire down here. Let it become its own crown. Now that I've definitely got it wired low enough to call it a cascade. Let it kind of grow back up. and develop its own little crown down lower here. Or depending on what kind of an angle I can get on a repot. I really do think this will be a nice tree one day. And again, looking forward to repotting it next year. This really could be something one day. See if get that kind of a look at the cascade there.